stop right there. Alright, we've just come walking down the road, and as you can see, I'm not trying to make contact. We've got a leopard right next to us here. Have a look behind my shoulder there. That is very, very close for a leopard. We're actually just looking at his track. Squirrel started to make a noise. We looked up, and 10 meters away is this leopard. Now, with us creating space and not facing him, it's giving him the impression that we haven't seen him, which is a good thing. So what we're trying to do is not show our faces to him. He's hidden behind a bush. I got a feeling that this is either Hosana or Tamba. Difficult for me to say because I don't want to pick up my binoculars and scare it. Leopard, unlike lion, you don't want to make eye contact. Lou's just confirmed that that's Hosana. And just how relaxed is that? I mean, leopard on foot at 20 meters is incredible. And you can see he's now lifted up his head. He's a little bit more relaxed. Not much, but a little bit more. I'm looking at his tail just to make sure that that doesn't start to flick up and down. You can still see us looking at him, but we still got our backs towards him. This is amazing. It's incredible. We're actually just looking at his tracks going, wow, these leopard tracks are fresh. Meanwhile, he was watching us the whole time. Amazing. Now he's lying in the open there. And to be honest, you can hardly even see him. Now, I see a few of you are posting the fact that you're amazed. And to be honest with you, this is the second time I've been this close to a leopard on foot here, one of these cubs. I've obviously been closer to other leopard on foot, but they hardly ever have this reaction. All the tricks that we've learned over the years of keeping leopard in sight while you call in your comrades are being put into play here with this particular sighting, and they work, which is amazing. Which is, don't make eye contact, create a bit of distance, stay in the open, if you can, without exposing yourself, put your back to them, and that's what we've done here. And he hasn't even moved. Normally, as soon as they see you making distance, they move off. Now, Louis says a few of you are saying that Hosana likes to follow people on foot. There's a possibility of that. It's not uncommon for leopard to do that. I've heard of female leopard which are born in lodges do the same thing, follow housekeepers around, become mischievous. And in this particular case, I think that there's a good chance of that. It obviously becomes a danger if they start to think of humans as a game. But can you imagine how scary it would be if leopard had to hunt us all of a sudden? He's lifted up his head again. I don't want to go off to the side anymore and expose him completely to us. At the moment, he thinks that he's hidden behind that bush, which is exactly what we want to keep. We want to keep that sort of status quo prevailing. That is amazing. Yeah. Honestly, everybody, it is uncommon to find leopard this relaxed on foot. Now, in actual fact, it's unheard of. I'm gauging how long we stay here and what we do, and at the moment he is not giving any indication that he's worried about us at all. He's completely safe for us. He's not growling. That slight tail flick is because of the squirrel and the Franklin next to him, just increasing the anxiety a little bit. But at the moment, no danger whatsoever. Now, James Richards, you were wondering if Hosana would still be as relaxed on foot as he was a couple of months ago when we were doing a lot of bushwalks. And this obviously answers your question. He hasn't lost that lack of fear. that is associated to most leopard on foot. This is honestly just amazing. Now, Ages, you want to know what will happen if I square up and make eye contact with him? It'll increase his anxiety to a point where he'll turn around and he'll slink off into the drainage line behind him. So what you don't want to do is, leopard like to know that they're hidden, even if it's just a false belief. So right now we're just standing here. I'm not even facing him. My back is faced away from him. VM is slightly turned to the side rather than square up. Herbie, who's standing behind us, is staring balefully at him. But you know, the key is that we've kept that little bush that he's got between him and us, and I'm closest to him and I've got my back towards him, which is making him feel a little bit more secure. I'm also covering VM with the majority of my body, so although he's hearing us and our voices, which would not be uncommon, he's heard voices since he was a little cub, human voices, we've got our back to him, and in my opinion, that's what is counting here. At some point, he will probably stand up. But for those of you who were watching yesterday, you saw what happens when a leopard gets alarmed. Yesterday, we arrived at some lions around Twin Dams, and Tamba came down to drink, and he got a smell of those lions. And even at 50 or 60 yards, it was enough to send him sprinting away to the top of a tree. That is the normal reaction of a leopard. Amazing. What we're going to do is create a little bit more distance just to get his tail to stop moving again. We're going to try that. And while we do that, we're going to send you back up to the Morrow to James, who's got some battle with young Hosana. Can you believe it? We've now created a bit more distance. We're probably another 10 yards further away. So we're at about 30 yards from him now. And he was even lying down just now. Can you believe it? Just the tail still displaying a slight agitation, not enough to get him to face us. So the tail is a fine mood tuner. If he was facing us, in other words, if he was on his haunches ready to stand up and move, I would create even more distance. But right now he's not even looking at us. He's got his back to us, all 4 feet facing the other direction, and he is looking at something further away to where we are. Lots of impala in this area, lots of grey duiker, lots of bushbuck. It's a good place for him to lie, actually. Jody, you'd like to know what he'd do if I sat down? Jody, there are 3 of us in this group. It's myself and VM, who's holding the camera that you're looking through at the moment, and then Herbie. If all 3 of us sat down, he'd probably relax even further. But that would be dangerous for us, not from the leopard point of view, but it reduces mobility. And out here, with a leopard just where it is, drainage line where we are, I wouldn't sit down here. And even if I sat down, it would be slightly inauthentic. VM would still be standing, as would Herbie. But if all of us sat down with our backs towards him, he'd probably take a little bit of notice. He might even feel bold enough to stand up. He won't approach us closer, I don't think. He may do from an inquisitive point of view, but I don't think. And so I don't think it'll change much, to be quite honest with you. Right now, he's just lying down looking at, I don't know what he's looking at. Barbara, you've asked if he recognizes our voice or any of the guides' voices. Barbara, I actually think they do. I haven't seen him often enough, I don't think, for him to recognize my voice, but he definitely will take some solace from the tone and the volume of my voice and my body language and my facial expressions. So while not me, over time he will recognize different voices, I think. Leopard are a lot more intelligent than what we give them credit for. They've got a larger brain than a lion does, in a body that's a quarter of the weight. And I personally think that they're so adaptive. They evolved to adapt, and I think that just that simple fact means that they can learn. And why not being able to learn voices? They might associate it with no problem, indifference, food, safety, a threat. You know, there's a lot of different things that you could say that associated to. I'm hoping that people on foot are associated with a few voices that he finds calming, if not reassuring, at least with indifference like he's doing now. And I think that's exactly what it is. He doesn't even care. To him, we're just another part of his environment. And ultimately, that is the goal of conservation, is a harmony, in my opinion, of people and animals. I suppose maybe not the ultimate goal, but maybe one of their foundation pillars is harmony. And I mean, as you can see right here, he doesn't want to try and kill me, I don't want to try and kill him. We're not in competition for the same food resource. We just are co-inhabiting an area, his home, we visitors, and he's tolerating us. And the hope is that in more urban environments, that over time, lessons learned like we are proving here, that leopards will be tolerated in more urban environments and not seen as the threat to livestock and to people's lives that there are now, and persecuted because of this prejudice. Lucian, you want to know if they really have larger brains than lions? Lucian, we've got a lion skull and a leopard skull in our museum collection, and James and I the other day compared the two. And without actually pouring water into the brain case itself and measuring how much volume they hold, they look the same. They look. The leopard's one looks slightly bigger because its skull is smaller, but they've pretty much round about the same size. The phenomenon is that a leopard will weigh at most, 60 to 90 kilograms. A lion goes up to 250 kilograms, almost 4 times as more for the same size brain. And if you have a look at what determines intelligence, the brain size to body weight ratio, that means that the leopard is a lot more intelligent than the lion. Another big yawn. Not showing us his teeth, that was just a normal cat yawn. A snarl from a leopard is like a snarl from a house cat, or from any of the cats. It's all anger. No mistaking a spit or a snarl from these cats at all. He's grooming himself. Another indication of complete sort of trust, and he's going to lie down. Can you believe it? 40 yards from a male leopard, and he's lying down, cleaning his fur. And by 40 yards, I mean, for those of you who are just joining us, we're 40 yards away from this leopard on foot, and have been here for the last 20 minutes or so. It's mad. It's crazy. I would argue that this is probably one of the first times in the history of the Sabi Sands where you can join these animals on foot in a sighting with multiple people and have these animals behave as they would be doing normally without the use of a car. And to me, it heralds a new chapter in the development of how we interact with these animals in this area. But more of that later. James seems to be losing those lions that he's with, so we're going to send you back over to him before they go. Just remember not to square yourself up to him if we do walk with him. We are still with him at the moment, and he's now starting to move. And what we've had to do is call in some vehicles into this area so that they can take over the sighting and we don't lose him. There's some kudu around. If you have a look over there next to the big tree on that side, they're going to see him in a little bit. And what's going to happen there is they're going to bark and he's probably going to move off. And so I'm going to ask Herbie to call in the rest of our teammates, and so we're going to carry on following him a little bit. Herbie, if you wouldn't mind calling it in, you're welcome just to keep the volume down and call it in. And the reason why we're doing that is because feasibly to follow this animal on foot is not going to be possible. And so what we're going to try and do is make sure that we can increase the sightings value for all the other rangers in this particular area, and we're going to do that by calling in a vehicle. Now, Dory, you wanted to know if I ever seen a lion or a leopard hunt on foot. Dory, I've been lucky enough to see quite a few leopard and lion hunts on foot. It's just it wasn't by design. It was a coalescence of opportunity, basically. Tracking lions that end up hunting zebra in front of me, leopard hunting grey duiker in front of me. I've seen cheetah kill on foot as well, but I've spent a lot of time on foot, and that's why. As the saying goes, the more you practice, the luckier you get. I'm just busy keeping an eye on here. There's a drainage line there, and I think he may have walked off into that. And I think he's done that to get away from the scrutiny of these kudu, because if these kudu had seen him, they would have barked, and that is what a leopard doesn't want. He doesn't want to let you know. The kudu are there against the tree, the dead tree left of the scotia, the dead marula. So there's the kudu that you can see there now in the picture. And he would absolutely try his best not to be viewed by them. Now, I'm not going to walk straight up to that bush where he disappeared into. I think he's walked down the river. What I'm going to do is just walk sort of obliquely past there and see if we can see him. The chances are is that he's walked into the drainage line, and we'll see him from the top here. He's just here in the bush. So what we're going to do is reverse a little bit. Now, Melissa, you want to know what would happen if I walked towards him? He would definitely create distance, Melissa. Okay, so I've got him again. So he's the tambuti tree here. He's just to the left of the tambuti tree. He's just lying in there with his face facing us. So Melissa, what he's done now is he's hidden himself away from those kudu and given himself an escape route. And at the same time, what he's doing is he's hiding away from us. And you can see by his ears that are flat. Now what I'm going to ask is let's move back a little bit just into this gap behind you, just to create a little bit of space with him. So you've got a tree behind you, so just into that gap. I just want to let him know that when he looks at us and his ears go flat, we create distance. That's just how we're going to play the status quo here. He gives us an indication that his anxiety levels are increasing. We create distance. And the reason why we're still sticking around and not moving off is quite simply we're just waiting for some of our colleagues, our ranger colleagues, to come with the vehicle so that they can have a sighting of him as well. And Herbie has kindly called in the sighting, so it's now what we call an active sighting. Vehicles from all over the place are going to be responding, and when the first vehicle gets here, we will hand over the sighting to the vehicle, and then we will create distance and carry on with our bushwalk. But in the meantime, it allows us a very unique opportunity for us to view leopard on foot undisturbed. We don't need to go anywhere just yet at all. He his ears have picked up, as you can see now from the picture that VM has got for you. His ears are now up. He's not keeping his head flat or ducking his head down, and so he is appreciative of the fact that we created some distance. I still have my body screening the majority of VMs, and my back is towards him. So as you can see, I'm very relaxed, not submissive in any way, but I'm not facing him or being threatening in any way. And he's relaxed up quite nicely there. So he's in a nice thicket. The kudu can't see him. He's got a beautiful drainage line behind him, which is his escape route. And so he couldn't feel better. I think there's no better place for him. And what a good place to hide up. The reason I'm saying that is that he's got this drainage line where he's at is a node, an intersection for a couple of different environments, and if there was a chance for him to get some food, this would be a place. Right, we're going to just manage this entry of the other vehicles into the sighting now. We're going to create a little bit more distance from him just to keep him as relaxed as possible, and we're going to send you over to James with that big male line.